Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. I'm Bernie Flowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward sons. I intend to talk about important topics every week in hopes of helping to improve our country and our way of life. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe as we try to grow the channel and defend America's middle class. So, let's get started. Lieutenant Colonel Ron Road Trip Thornton. Ron and I were in the military together about 20 years ago in San Antonio. Let's just say we were very, very good friends and still are to this very day. And we were in the same business, you might say, back in the day. We've been friends for a long time, and I thought the audience might really appreciate hearing his take on the election. We want to talk about some very important issues, and without any further ado, Ron, how are you doing?
Hey, Bernie, great to see you, brother. It's always a pleasure.
Man, we talk all the time, and like I said, I was thinking about you today, and I just figured that among our wild conversations that we have, people might enjoy listening to some of the crazy stuff we talk about. What do you think?
I tell you what, this is going to be unfiltered road trip for anybody that knows me.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to say it is.
For those who don't know you, road trip is his call sign, and there's a reason for that. This guy in our organization of about 400 people had the record for traveling. I mean, this dude was all over the Middle East and all over the Far East, and you name it, he was there. And he's got some wild stories to tell, but I'm not going to ask him those stories now. I'm just going to say he's a legend at the place where we came from. So, in your own words, tell us a little bit about yourself, bro.
Well, it's interesting. Somebody asked me that the other day, and I almost had a blank thought. What do I say to folks when I talk about myself? I'm a patriot. I love my country. In 22 years in the military, I had 11 ranks in service, so I came up from the bottom as a young man, had nothing, and the military in the United States of America gave me everything that I needed to succeed. And I'm a very proud papa of a little girl. And I have fantastic friends all across the United States. I spent the majority of my military career in special operations. Let's just say, for all practical purposes, being I was an unconventional guy, it was a perfect niche for me. And so I have friends in unique places still doing unique things. And today, here we are, right, Bernie?
Yes, sir. That's a funny way of putting things, but I totally get it. So with that said, as I said before, you and I talk about all kinds of crazy things. And now that the election is over, I just thought that people would want to hear what you have to say. I got a few questions for you. So without any further ado, would you mind if I asked you your thoughts about the election?
Fire away.
Here we go. So first off, why did the Republicans win in such an overwhelming fashion?
Well, you know what? I've got two answers for that. My first thought was, which may filter into some other questions, but Republicans won because the Democrats failed to recognize the biggest audience they could have in the American people was the middle class. And when they continually insulted, berated, took advantage of, oppressed the middle class, they lost the vote. We are not garbage collectors. We are not people that collect off of other people's backs. We are the backbone of America. The middle class puts political people in seats. And so what happened was this administration, specifically Kamala Harris, overlooked our American people. She catered to the elites. She catered to entertainers. She catered to multi-millionaires and billionaires. But who pays the bill? For all the checks they wrote, where does the money come from? There is nothing free. So to insult the very people where you take money from cost her dearly. So that's one piece of it. The second piece of it is the Democrats just couldn't cheat this election like they did in 2020.
Oh, man.
They were under a microscope. And so it was interesting to see all the swing states go red. That was very telling. So ballot harvesting, electronic voter fraud, all that was under a microscope this election. So in essence, the Democratic machine, dare I say it, underestimated the American people. The very fabric of America are people who get up every day, go to work, come home, and they just want liberty, freedom, and they want a life.
Got another question for you, bro.
Sure.
This is gonna be fun. I'm laughing. You know, we have had so many conversations over the past 20 years, and a lot of people don't know how many times we talk and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, how many weeks have passed that we didn't have 2 or 3 conversations. But the Democrats appear to be engaged in public blame shifting. They don't want to be accountable for their own policies, and they're pointing fingers left and right. The bottom line is, who should the Democrats blame? Should it be Biden or Kamala or George Clooney or Whoopi Goldberg? Who should the Democrats blame for their failure?
Okay, I'm going to lay it out to you this way. Once again, the Democrats have underestimated the one center of gravity that Obama couldn't affect, that he couldn't crush, that he couldn't find a mechanism against, and that was the American people. So they tried to do that. Unfortunately, Kamala, Joe Biden, most of the Democratic machine, they're just puppets. There is an orchestrative puppet master 2 miles away in the Organization for Change, and that would be POTUS 44. POTUS 44 is working for, dare I say it, the New World Order.
Ooh.
By virtue of a guy named George Soros.
Uh-oh. Them's fighting words.
So, are the Democrats really in control? Dare I say no.
Wow.
The Democrats are falling into the globalist agenda. So, if you're asking me who to blame, I don't think they thought all this through, and they just thought that having all these entertainers coming to publicity events for the Democratic Party would wow everybody. But America doesn't want that. America wants life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we signed up for. And the interesting thing, Brother Bernie, is this. People from both sides of the House voted red this election.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy, man. Got another one for you. You mentioned, a little bit about, the budget and that sort of thing when we were talking earlier. From what I understand, Kamala Harris spent $1 billion on this election. Not only did she lose, but she's still $20 million in debt. So she spent $1 billion plus another $20 million. But it's coming out that all those fancy people that endorsed her, the Whoopi Goldbergs and the Beyoncés and all these other people, Taylor Swift, they were being paid. They were being paid. What do you think about that?
Pay for play, right? Do
Tell
you
us
think?
more. Yeah,
Do you
dude, you know how I feel about it. People want to hear about you, though.
pay for play? Nobody wants to do something for free. Not even all those entertainers. I mean, how do you think they've got to be where they are?
Yeah,
Contracts, money.
I
Not
tell you, man.
people getting paid to be Antifa or BLM protesters.
Now we're talking.
Okay. So people will sign up if there's cash involved.
Well, apparently there was a whole lot of cash involved, and as I said before, people are starting to be a little disappointed because, to tell you the truth, on my end, in liberal Maryland, I know a lot of people who contributed to the Trump campaign, but I do have a lot of Democrat friends, and they tell me flat out that they didn't give any money to the Democrat campaign, which tells me that Kamala Harris got all her money from these oligarchs. All the rich people, you mentioned George Soros and the Bill Gates of the world, the rich people seem to be the ones that supported her. And you mentioned earlier about the idea that she got her support from these oligarchs and not from the people. So she got what she deserved. So, what do you think you should expect from the new administration?
Well, you know, it's interesting because we have a newly elected president who learned from his last term in office that the deep state was very powerful and controlling. And he does not, I would think, he would not want to be burned in the respect that he wouldn't know who to trust again. So, ridding the government, or basically cleansing the government of deep state, quote, rhinos, I think his vision is for a new, fresh Republican Party.
I like the sound of that.
Not encumbered by old thinking or quiet agreements across the aisle. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And quite frankly, the American people want that. They want to believe in something new. I mean, let's think about it. Let's talk about euphemisms. How did Bill Clinton and Barack Obama get elected in their presidencies? This one word called change. People didn't care what change meant. They just wanted to sign up for it. Well, today's world, people are a little nervous when you say change. And if they're going to change, they don't want old bodies in the same seats. They want real change. They want a bright and shining future. And don't we all deserve that? We're the most powerful nation in the world. I think as Americans, we deserve that. It's written in our Constitution, the guarantees of life, liberty, and, I repeat, the pursuit of happiness. I think both you and I, Bernie, have earned that, right?
You can say that again.
Americans.
I tell you, I got another question for you. And this is kind of a segue, you might say, but let's talk about the media a little bit. Now,
you mean the machine?
I'm trying to be an objective journalist here. Thank you. Anyways,
There you are.
Kamala Harris, from what I understand, her media coverage was 95% favorable. Trump's, I read that it was 80% negative. Now, we're talking about mainstream media, not podcasting and independent journalists. But the bottom line is MSNBC, CBS, NBC, all the rest of these characters, ABC, they were all lined up on the side of Kamala Harris, and Trump overcame. So the issue of the day is, what do you think about that, and how did all this happen?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Since the transition of the administrations between Barack Obama and Donald Trump in 2016, there has been a strategic military grade PSYOP campaign on the American people. When a man comes down an elevator, he hasn't even set foot in the White House and people are attacking him, threatening his life even back then. And for the next 4 years, he would be berated, attacked, put under a microscope. The three-letter networks would come after him in such a way. America had never seen a sitting president be attacked in such a manner. So what we have is, not unlike in other, dare I say it, communist countries, we don't have a mass media. We have propaganda channels. And I think, as I've seen, John Q. Public in America is tired of it. Now, we've had a man who's been shot at twice, a sitting president in the past, but a man who's been shot at twice. Had it been the other side, what do you think would have happened, Bernie?
It would have been chaos. They would have instituted martial law.
Exactly. The deep state is so desperate to portray Donald Trump, his family, his alliances, his friends in such a dark way as to dissuade American voters. These are tactics used in communist regimes. We saw what happened in Venezuela when they changed administrations there and how they went to socialism. What happened, Bernie?
And that's where it fell apart.
The country fell apart. And that was slowly happening to America. And Americans were tired of it. They didn't want to listen to it anymore. And let's talk about ratings. What do you think the ratings are in these three-letter ID news propaganda agencies? They're falling so bad.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we have other organizations like Newsmax and others. And why would a man who's got the most watched podcast around the world be so popular? Because the truth comes out.
There you go. And as I remember, Miss Harris was reluctant to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. Imagine that.
Absolutely. Now, we're getting into a whole different topic. Remember when I said you can't blame Miss Harris? She's told what to do. Miss Harris can't even think in a constructive manner. She has to be told what to do. Dare I say those microphone earrings that she wears would have been seen on the show. She wouldn't have been able to be told what to do or what to say.
There you go.
Okay. So America's speaking out. The Joe Rogans of the world. A man who was a dedicated Democrat.
He was.
And how has he voted? That's very telling.
He's voting for Trump this time.
He did.
He sure did.
So getting back to the original question about the media, there was a time when you and I grew up and we listened to Walter Cronkite on TV.
Yep, somebody we could actually trust.
You could trust. The finest name in journalism. I don't think America can say that right now.
I don't know of any of these rascals I trust anymore. I got another question for you, though, and this is related. So you mentioned Mr. George Soros, and then, I got an axe to grind against him, but let's nobody wants to hear my opinion. We want to hear yours. These prosecutors that he hired in all over the country, Fannie Willis, Alvin Bragg up in New York, and Letitia James, all these people have been harassing Trump for the past 2 years. What do you think is going to happen to them?
Well, that's, it's interesting you bring that up. As far as impact, that remains to be seen. And I'll tell you why. You got to think about the methodology behind hiring all those liberal AGs and DAs around the country. Why would someone do that? They don't want to change the laws. They just want to change how they're implemented. And why would someone do that? Now let's think about that in a strategic level. Okay. Communism, under the guise of socialism, cannot be instituted in a happy society, in a free society, comfortable society. So we're going to institute manipulation of the laws to cause chaos. Causing chaos so widespread across the country, people will vote for anything for relief. So the big scheme of things was to develop or a pattern way of thinking in people's minds that they would vote for communism. They would vote for socialism, which evidently turns into communism. So that was the goal of hiring all those DAs and those attorney generals, to make America so fed up that they would vote for anybody or anything just because it would take them out of the chaos they were living in, which has happened in other countries. Hence, getting back to Venezuela.
Yeah.
So when you ask me about that, there was a much bigger picture, much bigger strategic design behind that. Turn people out on the streets. Murderers, rapists, arsonists, let them go out in the streets where it overwhelms the police or the law enforcement or sheriff department.
Yeah. There was definitely a plan. And it's funny, when she says unburdened by what has been, I mean, both of us know from our training that comes straight out of Karl Marx. So,
well, I'm glad you brought that up, Bernie. You got to think back. Whose father was a Marxist?
hers.
There you have it.
There you go. Her Indian Irish father, not the black one.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Brother, I tell you what, I've had you on this program long enough. I told you I'd get you out of here because I know you got other things to do. I got another question for you. What would you like to say to the people? The floor now is yours.
To the American public, we are more alike than we are different. The average American wants the same things. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. And I really believe in my heart that we all believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Great men and women have died for that, for people to have that every day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. We enjoy in this country something that doesn't exist in other countries. And we have that freedom. So I say to the people, keep voting, rise up, stand for your country, love your country, and whichever way you worship, pray. Never ceasing. Because I really believe in my heart of hearts, the good Creator intervened in this election. And that's all I have to say.
Road Trip, I just appreciate you coming on here. Dude, how can people get a hold of you if they need to?
Oh, man, they can get a hold of me through you, Bernie.
Okay, that's fair. I'll forward stuff to you if I see it. Well, look, you are an old friend of mine. I wanted to share you with the public so people could see what a wonderful human being you are and, what a great friend you are. And I thank you for coming on the program. Give my best to Kat, and you just take care of yourself.
It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Amen. We'll do this again.
Thank you.
Well, that's about it for now. This has been the Loyal Opposition Podcast, produced in association with Fallback Productions and Veterans for America First. Please like, share, and subscribe as we try to grow the channel and protect America's middle class. Be sure to get your copy of my book, Black Values Matter, available as an ebook on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. And also, remember, it's okay to disagree. But if we want our country to prosper, we must insist on unity, transparency, and civility for ourselves and for our fellow citizens. Thanks for listening to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. We'll see you next week.